It's the Blue Jays This Week vodcast. Ben Ennis and Mike Wilner, who's in foggy Chicago. Is it still foggy out there, Mike?
Not still foggy, but it's starting to rain a little bit, so that's a little weird. We may be electrocuted while we're on the air.
That would be bad. It would be like the opening scene of King Ralph, and if you don't know that reference, maybe you should rent the movie, although it's not a great one. Mike, your voice has betrayed you a little bit. I want to talk about that just for a second, because it really makes what Tom Cheek did it's remarkable. Over 4,300 games he called consecutively. Now, I know you had problems with the voice. You weren't able to go on the radio for the opening day of that Chicago series. How amazing is it that Tom Cheek was able to go out there every single day?
Yeah, my streak went to 62. How awesome is that, huh? It really does kind of make it that much. And you can hear I'm still a little bit throaty, but I had nothing yesterday, and we had a pregame extra on Monday, and I tortured people for the 3 minutes that they had to listen to me before we just called it and Jerry took over. But it really does underline how incredible a streak of 27 and a half years without missing a game is. It's unfathomable to me.
Yeah, it's really spectacular stuff. Tom Cheek, one of the best. Now, one of the worst has been the Blue Jays starting pitching of late. When is this team actually going to start having consistent starting pitching? You thought maybe R.I. Dickey turned a corner, and I'm sure the fog had a little bit of an impact on his start in that opening game of the Chicago series.
Yeah, you had to imagine that it did. I mean, the air is heavier, and that makes the ball, I don't know what it does to the ball, but whether it helps or hurt. But obviously last night it was flat and it was crushable, and but there were tons of home runs hit on both sides too. We thought Dickey turned a corner. We saw a great start out of Josh Johnson in San Francisco, and then he comes back and shuts down the Rangers for 3 innings, and then he gives up 3 runs, and he throws 109 pitches in 5 innings. And, you know, it really, Esmail Rogers and Mark Burley have been carrying the load for this rotation, and Rogers has gone 7 1/3 innings in his 2 starts. So it's amazing. And the starting pitching was supposed to be this huge strength of this team. It was supposed to prevent long losing streaks and give them the opportunity to go on these kind of 10-1, 10-2 runs that they now need a couple of to get back in a race. I don't know. I mean, you hope that it's right around the corner that it's going to turn around, because they've all got the talent and they've all got the ability to do it on a consistent basis. We haven't seen it yet.
No, we haven't. We've seen, instead, a great bullpen. Steve Delabar has been a part of that, and you got a chance to catch up with Steve. He's the subject of our Ford Leaders in the Field segment.
Ford Leaders in the Field. Presented by the 2013 Ford F-150, Canada's Player of the Year for 47 years running.
Steve Delabar, we're talking about the bullpen and the role that it has taken on this team, and you guys have done over the whole season some serious heavy lifting this year, but you've come through it beautifully.
We put in a lot of work, and you know, we credit all the a lot of it to the scouting reports we get. You know, we just get in there and try to execute what the plan is.
What's interesting is that, I mean, there are so many of you. We've had as many as 9 guys in the bullpen, as few as 7, but the way Gibby has seemed to do it, even though there's a lot of work, you've all been fresh the whole time.
And you know, we have to balance it out. We can't go in there every single night and be overworked. We have to make sure that the workloads are managed and we're able to get in there and give it the best that we can. So they've done a great job with managing the workload.
Have you found that there have been days that you have to say, look, I need the day, or does it just kind of happen organically that they know, that Pete and Pat and Gibby know, and they're not going to work you?
No, you have to speak up whenever you need a day, but for the most part, they've done a great job as far as saying, hey, you get the day off. You worked hard the last couple of days. We're going to give you a day.
This is your first full year with the team. First time you had a chance to go to spring training and see everybody and get to know people, even though last 2 months you were a pretty big part. Have you been surprised by anyone? I mean, the name that pops immediately into everybody's head is Brett Cecil, and how awesome he's been. Knowing what you knew about him coming in, what do you think of what you've seen?
I mean, he's just like the rest of us. He's getting up whenever the phone rings and just getting in there and get the job done. So, we really don't focus on too much what happened before. We just look forward to the future and just be ready when the phone rings.
Starting pitching was supposed to be the strength of this team. It hasn't gotten to that point yet this year. And you know, aside from the 17 and 18 inning games, that's one of the reasons you guys have worked so much. When you see all of them, Dickey, Morrow, Johnson, everybody, struggle the way they have, is it difficult to kind of put in your head, well, this is not what these guys are, and we, as a bullpen, thought we were only going to get 2 innings of work a day at the most? I'm not quite sure how I'm asking this, because this is turning out to be a terrible question, but I mean, do you see from them those signs that, hey, things will turn around and they'll get back to being themselves?
And that's all the hope. You know, coming in, they were supposed to shorten the game, you know, go 6, 7, 8 innings and make it easy on us. But, you know, things happen the way they do, and we really can't fault anything for happening the way it has. We just, like I said, we just prepare ourselves down there and get ready.
Last thing I want to ask you is about what goes on behind you, because first month of the season was pretty terrible, and it's kind of stabilized since, but every once in a while we see little mistakes and plays not made, whether they're errors or not. Monday night was an example behind you in the 8th inning. How do you maintain your focus, and how do you keep, okay, next pitch, next pitch, next pitch, when you feel like, I should be out of the inning already?
You know what? After I came out of the game last night, I'd already turned the page on it. I felt like I made some good pitches, and I went back and looked at the video, and sure enough, the pitches were right there. And on any given night, I make those same pitches and I get out of the inning easy. So I think, you know, as far as the execution of pitches and just staying focused with that, you know, I think the results are going to be better. And you know, coming in last night, it was a crazy game with the fog and, you know, the wet playing surface. So you don't want to put any blame or on anything. But I mean, in a different situation, those mistakes don't happen, and you know, we have different results.
But in the moment when you're out there, and I'm not asking you to like lay blame on anybody or anything like that, but I've seen pitchers, 2 outs, they get a ground ball and they kind of relax, and then the ground ball gets kicked and they have to get another out, and it makes it that much tougher. How do you wipe that away in that second? We've
talked about the whole year, and what our big focus is focusing on one pitch at a time. If I execute one pitch, then I don't have to worry about the next one until the next one gets here. I focus on that one, because the most important pitch is the next pitch you make. It's not, you know, the 3 pitches behind me that, you know, I might have gone ball 3. It's about the next pitch that I make, and I got to execute that pitch and then, you know, move on from there.
So there you go, Steve Delabar, just one of the many great relievers the Blue Jays have thrown out there this year. Him, along with Brett Cecil and Casey Janssen, have been spectacular. And even the guys they call up from AAA Buffalo, they've been spectacular as well. You think about where this team is right now and still hovering around 10 games under 500. Where would they be without the bullpen work they've gotten this year?
Yeah, can you imagine if the bullpen had been the weak spot that everyone thought it was going to be going into the season, being asked to work almost 5 innings a game? This would be, I mean, there's a reason that the Blue Jays, while as we speak they're 27 and 35, it feels so much worse. And that reason is the starting pitching, because it feels like they're behind all the time and they're always trying to scrap back. And it does feel like they're 15, 20 games under 500. They're not, and largely because of the bullpen.
Yeah, it's been spectacular. Mike, this has been spectacular, although brief. I'm really glad you weren't electrocuted. Have some hot tea and honey, maybe. Take care of that voice. Great stuff. He's Mike Wilner. Follow him on Twitter at Wilnerness590. Follow me on Twitter at BennisSnet. We'll see you next week.